Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name's Penny and I live in Central Illinois and I am a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. Welcome back to my knitting journal channel. Doing a little something different here tonight, and I'll talk about things later, but right now I want to talk to you about my knitting and get you caught up on what's going on here at Shea PJ Knits. It is Thursday, April 28th, and in Central Illinois, the weather today was rainy and, in the 60s. And, it's been toying with sunshine here and there, but come on, spring, I'm ready for you. How about you guys? For those of you who've been here in the past, you'll know that I had been dealing with some laryngitis, and I'm kind of sort of still have a little raspy throat. May have to deal with that for a month, another month-ish or whatever, but it's much better than it was. I'm drinking lots of hot water and taking some stuff to keep the gunk from doing its thing. But anyway, so that's what's going on. I'm still a little raspy when I talk too much, or I think when it rains. I think as I grow older, I'm getting allergies. Anybody else, having any of those things? So anyway, enough of that stuff. Let's move on to some knitting. Let's talk about some knitting. And I apologize if I do a little throat clearing or drink too much, but I need to keep the vocal cords wet so that I can talk to you about some knitting. So let's get started. I'm going to grab my notes because I have made some notes. First of all, what I was wearing as I came in. Two things. I am wearing, for those of you who have watched before, I started this a year ago in August. This is called the Rugby Scarf Redux, and I bought this yarn years ago from the yarnery at Stitches Midwest, and I just knitted it up with the intention of wearing it this spring with this particular sweater, which is called Sunshine Coast by Heidi Kermeyer. And I knit it a couple of years ago as well. It has some really great details, and this is a great pattern for transitional sweaters right now, because you could make it as long as you wanted. If you wanted to do long sleeves, you could do that, or the 3/4 like I've done in the pattern. And if you've watched for a while, you'll know that I really do. I like Heidi Kermeyer's aesthetic, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But here's a little bit an idea of what that side treatment looks like. And if you can go out to my project page and see the yarn that I used for this particular one as well. But I really do like that. I've made one similar, tank, for summer that has this same sort of eyelet detail down the side, and I really like it wearing for summertime as well. So that is what I am wearing out of a yarn that's a cotton linen and something else. But like I said, I bought this from my local yarn shop a couple of years ago and knitted up because I wanted a green sweater, and I paired it with the Rugby Redux scarf that was done out of Shibui Staccato. That was some time ago. It still needs to be blocked, and when I block it, it's going to open up a little bit, I'm hoping, but I just haven't got to that at this point in time. So that's what I am wearing at this point in time, and it is a Heidi Kermeyer, like I said. This one is super, super long. I just kept going till I could go no more. There you go. So, and then Sunshine Coast, and I really do like this for transitional. Like I said, it's a great transitional sweater. So, next up, I want to talk about, because we're really on the end of transitional sweater wearing, or at least knitting. I would think that, and I'm hoping, that you are starting to think about summer sweaters, and I'm going to talk about those. But the next Heidi Kermeyer sweater that I'm going to talk about is Fine Sand. And this one I did out of remix yarn, a Rowan remix. Some time ago, I bought the yarn many years back with the intention of doing, there was like a little vesty thing that I was going to do. And I decided I didn't really like the vest. You know, it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I needed something for not only in transitional type sweaters for right now, but even into the summer when you're going into air conditioning. And this just pops over one of those graphic, T-shirts that I have many of, and it's a pretty simple construction on it. And again, this is of a cotton and linen mix as well out of Rowan. It was called Remix at the time. And it's called Fine Sand by Heidi Kermeyer. So this is a couple of ideas for some transitional sweaters for you. And again, into summer if you need something to wear in air conditioning. So I wanted to share those with you and kind of say, in my mind, I'm sort of done with transitional sweaters. I'm thinking about summer sweaters, but one that could be labeled as a transitional sweater / into the summer, into the fall, and having it ready for next year is another Heidi Kermeyer. It's called Niagara. And for those of you who have watched before out of my journal, the thought process or the inspiration photo from this was an outfit that I found on Pinterest a couple of years ago, and I knew that I wanted a green sweater of sorts, and this whole style, because I really need somebody to tell me what pieces to put together in my wardrobe, and so I would look to Pinterest a lot and Ready to Wear to kind of give me some ideas of what to put together. So this is my inspiration photo right here. Pop that back with the blue and the tank, and even down to I think like the brown purse and the brown sandals. So that was my inspiration photo for this particular one that I'm wanting to work on. And it is almost like that. And I didn't bring my picture with me. Sorry about that. But it's called Niagara. And it's very similar. What Heidi did in this particular pattern, she talks about that she created this one to be very much like the vitamin D, but with not all of the flare, for those of you who know the vitamin D, without all the flare that's on that particular one. And so I'm doing this out of the Double Sunday Petite Knit that I purchased from Mother Knitter online. They had the color that I wanted. It's a Sandus yarn. And this is just an idea of, and it looks just like the picture that I showed you in my inspiration photo, but this is what the back of it looks like. And so it has these eyelets that are going down right on it in the back, spread across the back, but not as full. And on the front, there are eyelets as well. But again, not as full. For those of you who have seen the vitamin D, there's a lot of fullness and flare to that. And I had started one of those, but way back when, but I decided there was too much flare for that, too much flare in the front, and yeah, I could have adapted and changed it, but I thought not. So anyway, when I saw this one, I thought it was great. Would be a great different take on it, but not without all the flare, and it would be in the green, and it would help that it would go with my my inspiration photos. So that is really the last of my transition sweaters for right now for spring. This one I plan on wearing into the summer. I'm going to be inside a lot this summer, I'm sure, and so I'm going to continue on with that, and then I'll have it for next year also for St. Patrick's Day, because I don't have a green sweater really, and so that will be fun. It'll still be around till then. So I am videoing this or whatever, taping. I'm taping this at night, so hence that's why we have the light and where we're at. We're actually in what I'm calling my personal yarn shop too, so you can get a little bit of a view of how I organize my yarns, and we will talk about those in future episodes. I'll take the shawls down and we'll talk about those at some point in time. So anyway, let's talk about summer sweaters, because even though it's cold here, and I'm calling 60, 59, 60 for the next 10 days cold, summer's going to be here. We're going to turn around in central Illinois at least, and it's going to be summer, and we're going to say, why didn't we get all those summer sweaters knitted? So things are kind of hairy around here right now, so I don't know that I'm going to get all of the summer sweaters that I would like to do. But for the purpose of today, what I really wanted to do is maybe inspire you on some different particular ones. One of the things that we had talked about in a past episode was a yarn that I had that I didn't know what I wanted to do with. I was torn. It's called EY Select Bel Viso. And I purchased this last year from our local yarn shop, the Fiber Universe. And it's a cotton, linen, and nettle fibers. And it's purple. And that's a really good, that's exactly what it looks like, okay? And it's a fingering weight, and I couldn't decide what summer sweater I wanted to do. And I wanted to be sure and try to use yarn out of my stash. And so I think I finally narrowed it down to the sweater that I want to use. And I think I'm going to go with an Isabel Kramer one, which is called Edie. And I've had some friends who have knit this. The only thing is I am going to make longer sleeves. As you know, for those who watch all the time, I will have to make adaptations to the sleeves. But it has a little texture to it, and I think that's going to be a perfect sweater for my Bel Viso. So I think almost 100% that this is what it's going to be. And again, this is called Edie, and it's by Heidi Kermeyer. Okay? So I think that's one of my picks that I would like to do for this summer. And then next one up, some other ideas that I have for some summer knitting is the Lovely Tea by Kimberly McAlinden. And I know that the Knitting Place is doing a knit-along, a paid-for knit-along right now. I chose not to join that because I just didn't know if I could do it right now. And I really didn't need to do the knit-along with help. So I can do it on my own, which would be fine. But anyway, I am looking at this one. And again, this was a yarn that was out of my stash. It was called Blue Christmas Smooth Sock, and it is a stitched together studio yarn. And I've done my swatch for it. This is what the yarn looks like. Has some blues, has a little bit of purples in it. And I have done a little swatch. I did a swatch in the round for it because this sweater is in the round, and I want a gauge that's in the round. So I just want to put that there. Yes, I do a gauge swatch, Linda. And, I also, the thing is, my good friend Linda said, but gauge swatches lie. But you have to have a starting point is what I believe. So I'm having a starting point, and I do pay attention as I knit what the feel of the fabric is doing, and I do measure. And so 99% of the time my sweaters fit because of my gauge swatch and by checking throughout the knitting process. So I've made the little gauge swatch, and I am seriously thinking at some point in time of doing the Lovely Tea. This gives you a little bit of a picture here. It has a little bit of a gathering, or yeah, I'm going to call it a gathering in the sleeve. So I'm thinking that I'm going to do that. It also may have a little bit of a flare at the bottom, which I will adapt as I work through it. That if I need to go in at the waist to come out, and then out to the hips. So I will be doing that. So that is kind of on my plan for summer as well, and I think that's just a really cool one. Now, something else that's been on my brain, and I don't know whether I'll get it done this year, but it certainly was, this is like the second or third year, but I have some yarn from Briar Rose. It's called Sea Pearl. And the sea pearl, unfortunately, is being discontinued, or it has been discontinued. I don't know that Chris has a lot in her shop, but I've had this gray for some time, little tonal. This was going to be the Hitofude. This was going to be the Hitofude, and I decided that was another one that was not really meant for me, for my body type at the time. So I'm thinking seriously about still this year about maybe doing Tegna as well. And again, I would have to lengthen. I would definitely lengthen that body, but I have loved this one forever. And so I'm thinking about doing that out of my sea pearl. But, you know, that's very ambitious, you know, for me this summer. But we'll see. We'll see how it progresses, because I am doing a lot of knitting. And then finally, one of the sweaters that I wanted to talk about is last year I did a couple out of this. I did out of this book, only one. I did this one that I love for summer out of Sandus Garn Lena. Now, in order to get the book, you had to buy the yarn. So I did that last year. And so there are still, you know, I hate to just I hate to just have a book and only do one pattern out of. And so I've got my eyeballs on this one for maybe later in the summer, but I don't know that I will get that far with my ambitiousness that's going on here. But I like this one here. And I think that could very well, and I think there's a long sleeve version, so it could be a nice transition sweater into fall as well. So again, this book, I originally purchased from, with the yarn from the knitting place last year. It's got some cute stuff in it, you know, but you have to buy the yarn. There's a nice, sweet little vest. The other thing I was really eyeballing in here was this striped sweater as well. So it has possibilities, and I love the Lena, the Sandus Garn Lena. Now, this particular one that I'm looking at here, this calls for Mandarin Petite, so I'd have to go another direction for that yarn, to buy that yarn as well. So, and that's what kind of keeps me from doing that right now. But it has some cute things in, and like I said, I did the cover one last year out of the Lena yarn, and I loved it. I also did the Amber, the Anchor sweater from Petite Knits, and I'll show you. We'll be talking about those in another episode for more summer sweaters that you can be knitting on. So, you know, if you're so inclined to knit something like that and buy the Lena yarn, this is a nice one too. We'll be talking about this book a little bit more. So those are kind of some of my ideas for myself, and maybe there's some things that, you know, that in my little list of stuff that might be good summer sweaters for you to start on. This won't be the end of the summer sweaters that we talk about. I'm hoping to talk about more of those in future episodes here. So anyway, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is that Summer of Shawls 2022. And every summer I like to concentrate on a shawl, because some, you know, we've talked about that before. Shawls in the summertime are nice to knit on, because they're not, you know, you can do them while they're on your lap. You can take, you know, if you're going on vacation, you can take just the yarn for your shawl. Shawls are great for in the air conditioning if you get them done. I have several wraps that I love. I have a springy wrap here, and gradient one that I talked about, and then Chelsea's Yarns, this mohair one. These are all some wraps, and so shawls are good for knitting on in the summertime, and they're also good for wrapping up. And taking a vacation, taking on trips, taking on appointments, you know, to go around. And I do love good shawls. So with that said, you know, I was thinking about what I wanted to do, what shawl I wanted to concentrate on this summer, and I had a moment. I have been for some time enamored with Pressed Flower Shawl by Savory Knitting. Okay. And I follow the hashtag on Instagram. And I've been seeing a lot of them. And I was bound and determined that I was going to knit this particular shawl because I thought this would be a new technique to me, you know, and I love to do a little new technique. And I was going to do something, I thought surely I could pull some stuff out of my personal yarn shop. And everything I came up with was like, no, that's not what I wanted. No, you can't put that together. No, you don't have enough. And so I was eyeballing out these things, and I was watching the gals on Knitting Posse, and I became enabled by a kit from Skein Cocaine called Iris Succulent. And here are the two yarns that one of the ladies on the podcast had just finished hers, and so she said the kits were still available at Skein Cocaine, and so I bit, and I got those in the mail a couple weeks ago. So this will be the inside of the flowers, this will be the outside, and this is going to be a great shawl to be knitting on during the summertime, and will be wonderful into the fall and winter to be wearing as well. So this is called, again, Pressed Flower Shawl. It's from, the yarn kit is from Skein Cocaine, and I can't wait for the summer of shawls to start. Now, summer starts on 6/21, and it goes through September 22nd. So there's a good 3 months to be knitting on shawls. And so I hope you'll join me. So that's the first one. Then the second one that I really want to work on as well, and I have been vacillating on this one for some time, of whether it would be the Suburban Shawl or one from Heidi Kermeyer, which was a really big one here, really quite big wrap, and I decided against that one, and have finally decided that I am going to go with the Suburban wrap for an alternative shawl, because I know that the Pressed Flowers is going to be one that really I'm not going to be sitting around in public. That's going to be like quiet time knitting, because I think there are new techniques with it. And this one we have talked about before. And just to give you a little inkling, here's one of the main yarns that was driven from it. And of course there's going to be a turquoisey of some sort in there. And probably a black is my plan. And we've talked about this before, okay? So I'm kind of thinking of those yarns, and again, most all of them were from my stash. I had to buy I didn't have to buy any of these. I do have one in here that I had to buy, but I think I'm going to go with my Pearl Soho yarn for it. So that's kind of one of the shawls that another shawl for the summer of shawls that I want to do. And we'll have a hashtag Summer of Shawls 2022. You can also, and show them off on Ravelry as well. We have a PJ Knits Ravelry group there. And there'll be a thread opened. I think there already is a thread opened for that. So I hope you'll join me in knitting some new shawls this summer. And again, we'll talk more about shawls in the next episode. And I'll show you some more shawls from my I don't want to call it a stash, from my collection of shawls. We'll talk about more shawls all summer long. We're going to be talking about some shawl books and things like that. So, next up, mail call. Mail call. And a digression. Oh, hold that thought before we jump into mail call. I was so smart with myself that I made a notation of what page, but my inspiration picture for my Suburban shawl was one that I saw on Instagram, And it all leads back to this kind of like a aqua purse that I have. And I saw that, and so I kind of, that's my inspiration photo. And the reason I went with the yarns that I did, because I don't have a original thought in my body. Anyway, so. And then secondly, while we're talking about mail call, I'm going to go back to my Niagara. Several things on here, notions that I love, and part of them were mail call. Again, I'm using Barber Cole's, the Barber knitting cords. The Knitting Barber. And I have in here, I have 3 sets. And I'm telling you, I love that notion. It was perfect for this particular sweater because I have my sleeve, I have my front on one, and I have the back on another, the long one. And this was so slick to use to put these on. So I highly recommend these Barber poles. The Knitting Barber, again, the Knitting Barber cords. This was super, super cool. I love that notion. This is, knitting notions that I love. Second of all, what I ordered in conjunction with mail call is I finally bit the bullet. And now I don't know why it took me so long to do this, but I finally bought both sets of the Chiagu shorties. And I'm using these blue ones all the time right now. I thought my hands would cramp up. Oh my gosh, I am so glad that I bought these. I bought both sets on a whim from the knitting place, and they came, within a week. And I am so using these all the time for small circumferences. Oh my gosh, the later you get, the less I can talk. And I'm using them for sleeves. My goodness. Why did I wait so long to get these? I am loving, loving, loving these shorty sets. The best purchase I bought in a long, long time, especially the blue set. And I'm sure I'll be using the smaller sizes as well. And I'm on the largest of the cords right now, and it's perfect for a sleeve. Last but not least, I wanted mail call. I got a super, super cool new stitch marker that I'm using from Kendra. It's a little cup. It's perfect for me. Isn't that cool? And I'm using it on my green sweater. And they're housed in my green Vera Bradley bag. So I wanted to talk about that as far as mail call. Those shorties, a game changer for me, guys. I am totally in love with them. I can't believe I waited, especially for sleeves. And I'm a double point person, diehard double point person, but guys, this is just too cool. Anyway, so then a little tip I wanna share with you. Remember we were talking some time ago about needle cases, and I showed you my Della Q bag that I got from Jimmy Beans from Kevin and Ray. They told me to buy it on their podcast. But anyway, I was talking about what to do, how to, because I do my Chiagus that are being housed in here. I also do I have 5 inches that are in the thing itself, but what to do about my 4-inch ones. And I figured something out, guys. I figured it out. So here's the front, and my size 4 case fits in there perfectly. Pop it in there. It's got all my my small sizes in there. And then all I have to do is zip it shut. And now I have my 5 inches and my 4 inches in here. Cool or what? So all my needles are together. I've got my other sets in there. And then on here, I've got the cords all in the pockets, along with what I use to screw my things shut. I have a little one of those little jar things in there. And then in the back, I have my spare 5 inches. And I know now that it starts out with 2, 3, 4, 5, goes right across, right across. And then these are the spares of the 5 inches that I have. So I was just like, I wonder if I can fit that in there. And like, sure enough, there it went. So, again, Needles at the Ready guys there, they talked me into this. And now I'm liking this, now that I've got a feel for what's going on it. So, and again, I got ordered mine from Jimmy Bean's Wool. Came quick. So anyway, that's my Dollar Q. I wanted to share that little tip with you. And then lastly, we're going to have a giveaway. And before I do that, I want to talk to you about something. And I don't know how to put this, so I'm going to say this. If you don't see me for a while, off and on, it's because the tall guy is having some issues. And at this point in time, he's going to be at some point put into hospice here at home. It's not the plan that we had, but life interferes. And so if you don't see me for a while, know that I'm taking care of him, and that I just haven't found the time to sit down and talk to you about my knitting. That said, I'm going to continue as much as I can, and maybe at night like this, from my personal yarn shop. I'm going to continue when I can. And the reason I'm going to continue is because knitting is such a part of my life. It is, at times I can't knit because my mind just wants to sit there and not. But more times than not, when I'm up here at night, it gives me, it takes me away from thinking somewhat. It gives me, and to be honest with you, planning a podcast gives me something to do. And again, filters my mind away from what's happening in the real world. So I just want to say that up there that's why if you don't see me, there's things going on, or I'm not feeling it, or I don't have anything to share. I don't have anything to share with you, or just can't do it. Let's put it that way. So I will podcast when I can, because Elizabeth Zimmerman had it down pat. Knit on with confidence and hope through all crises, because we really don't have a choice. As much as my friend and I say, man plans, God laughs. And this is one of those times. So we'll make it through. We've had a good 40-some years, 46, 47 this year. And I'm there. We're there. So it'll be a while. But I wanted to, maybe it's oversharing too much, but I wanted you, faithful viewers, to know what's going on, and to know that we'll get through this in the end. So I will be here when I can, and I will blog about my knitting when I can on my blog at pjknits.blogspot.com, and also post on Instagram when I have knitting related stuff to show you. So with that said, let's do a giveaway. Because I need diversion also at night. I'm finding a lot of things to watch, podcasts to watch, Netflix to watch, things on Hulu. I'm wondering, comment below if you would on, are there any new podcasts that you're looking at that inspire you for your knitting? And what we're going to do, if you remember some time ago, my friend Peggy donated to us a row counter that she made, does not sell. And here it is. And so what I would like for you to do for this giveaway is down below here in the comments. Let me know what podcasts, knitting podcasts, you are watching. Now, I'm also going to say this. Let's also, if you have some ideas of other things on Netflix, you know, I have watched a lot of the things that you're going to tell me about. I'm going to have already been watching because I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of Hulu. I watch BritBox. But sometimes there are things out there that you're like, wow, I never thought about watching that. So comment below and we'll do a giveaway in the next one, random number here just from YouTube for this row counter from our friend Peggy. So give me some ideas of things to watch. Give some other people some things to watch because you never know what might be out there that we're missing. So that is really all I have for you today. I do appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you staying with me, and I would say think positive thoughts, but think positive thoughts that we will. I don't know. It's not going to get any better, but let's just think positive thoughts in general for everybody's sake. We've had a couple of, things that have been happening, so we'll deal with that. Until next time, please knit on with confidence and hope through all crises, because I know that I'm not the only one. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in.